Kanchi, Sexuality and Black Narcissus. In this 1947 film, Kanchi is the problematic native orphan sent to live with a group of Anglican nuns in order to tame her sexuality. Kanchi represents a powerful exotic sexual force. Here we will examine her exotic characterization, appearance, and sexual fantasy. Kanchi depicts racialized desire. She has a physical similarity to the exotic murals of concubines. These images reinforce how primitive and culturally stagnated the natives of the palace are, as they reduce the women to sexual objects. Her introduction is heralded in by exotic Orientalist music, becoming an outlandish symbol of sexualized desire. She was described as being luscious and ready to eat, a clear analogy of her sexuality being fully ripe. Femme fatales like Kanchi use their overt desirability like a new Eve as they tempt men with green fruit. Kanchi attempts to seduce Mr. Dean. There is an evident juxtaposition between the sensuous Kanchi and the pure nuns. Kanchi's costume is symbolically a carnal rev, heavily contrasting to the white habits of the nuns. With her bold foreign attire, Kanchi solidifies exotic stereotypes. The color play is also evident in skin colors, as the nuns are pure and white, while as Kanchi is dark and sinful with lust. The polar opposites, east versus west, sexual versus virginal, are in conflict, yet these images eerily mirror each other. However, it should be noted that such a foreign-looking character was played by Jean Simmons, an English actress. The use of a primarily Caucasian cast symbolizes how Kanchi's character has no economic or political power. This glamorized role was overplayed by a woman. Sexuality is associated with being out of control. When Sister Ruth emancipates herself from the vows of the church, she becomes like Kanchi, wearing red and aligning herself in sexual freedom, opposition to the nuns. How a character is visually represented and how the camera allows us to view them is of utmost importance. Kanchi has a dualistic role. She is both meant to be looked at and she needs to watch her love interest. As mentioned, Kanchi is attractive, being the epitome of feminine allure. Her bright costume and animated actions cause our eyes to gravitate towards her. Because of this, the audience intuitively knows that Kanchi needs to be looked at. Kanchi here is vainly dancing in front of the mirror, admiring her own sexual agency and freedom. In the film, Powell and Pressburger have reserved mirrors for characters who have embraced sensuality and rejected spirituality, such as Old General and Sister Ruth after she has cast off her vows. Initially, it is Kanchi who views the young general with a voyeuristic gaze as she examines him from her perch in the exotic room. By utilizing the mirror as a device, she is transformed into a knowing sexual agent. She has taken an active male perspective, which symbolizes that she is perfectly aware of her sexuality. She is turning the male young general into the sexualized object. These pictures illustrate the differences between the objective point of view of the character through the camera and the subjective voyeuristic one, such as used with Kanchi. Voyeurism is a visual pleasure that arises from looking at others in a sexualized way. Here, Kanchi's gaze also includes a sexualized, almost orgasmic, sniffing of the young general's scent, the black Narcissus. Her methods shift later at school. Now she desperately goes over or under dividers to catch a glimpse at the young general. By having the general look back at her, she is being retransformed into the female that needs to be looked at. Kanchi's silence is a powerful foil to the constant chattering of the Western rulers of the palace. Vocalization of Kanchi would detract from her to-be-looked-atness and her use of body language. A great deal is communicated with gestures, eye contact, and dancing. Her constant silence makes her into a sex object, a subservient mistress guaranteeing access to the fantasy of the East. Her silence also unnerves the nuns, using silence like the wise man who is steadfast and has personal strength. The Western filmmakers reinforced the glamorized fantasy world of the East, making it seem like a fairy tale with princes, beggar maids, and toy costumes. Kanchi is part of an archetype of going from rags to riches, the difference being she uses her overt sexuality to get there. Here, she is calculating how to seduce the young general. Her curvaceous figure and come-hither movements differ from the shufflings of the nuns. She mimics a damsel in distress, fainting, then breaks into a highly sexually and racialized dance. Her pink dust rag symbolized both her lower caste and her budding femininity, which she tosses away. Later, her rank and gender are laid at the feet of the young general. Like any good fairy tale, Kanchi is saved by her man, who is charging in on a white steed. We sympathize with her, and so does the young general. Note how she screams when she sees him in order to garner support and attention, fulfilling the foreshadowing of her damsel in distress routine. Sarah Street suggests that the housekeeper has plotted all along to get the prince and the beggar maid out of the palace by making them a couple. Like a discarded pink dust rag, Kanchi's caste, status, and gender lay at the feet of the young general. Again, she slithers towards him, being very sexual, using her luscious fruit to tempt the young general. Her fruit will not rot. The young general runs away with her, confirming the stereotypes that both characters tried to break away from in the film. Hers was that she would become a concubine because she resembled those that were on the mural.